Good evening, and you have parked it in the best place. You can park anything, your car, your body, your mind. Welcome to the Attitude Shift. I'm Donna Butler. Oh, we have some boxes tonight. Tonight we have some lovely faces joining us. First and foremost, I want to say good evening to Siobhan Shaw. How are you, darling?
I'm good. I'm ready to shift. I'm excited. We have a new guest, and I'm really excited. Well, I'm going to introduce you to her in a few minutes, but I'm really excited that we have riding shotgun with us on a regular basis now, Ariel Butler, your daughter. We love you, Ariel, and we are so excited that you've joined our little group here and that you're going over some speed bumps with us.
Yes,
each and every
ma'am.
week now, and you make just a great addition to the virtual red Corvette. You look really good in it, by the way.
Thank you. I love sitting in the back seat with you guys sometimes. I love being here. I love the show. I love what we do. I'm excited to be here. And
Okay,
I'm excited
cool.
to see Leslie.
Yeah, Leslie Flowers. Leslie
Yay.
Flowers. She is from the East Coast, North Carolina, South Carolina.
That's right, North Carolina.
North Carolina, and the name of her book is Champion.
Woo-hoo.
21st Century Women, Guardians of Wealth and Legacy. So what we're going to talk about tonight is all the attitudes surrounding women being successful or not being successful in business.
Right.
And what attitudes we need as women to be successful. And I had a great conversation last night with Leslie getting ready for this, like kind of prep. I know I never do that. But I found out some amazing things, and I've been thinking about it all day, so I can't wait till she gets into the meat of the subject. But Donna, you take it away. Where do you want to go?
Oh, I want to go right into it. I got a chance to read some of the book. I love the notes that you took, Siobhan, and you know what? It's just what it is, because you see it every day, you know, women in the workplace, women at home, women being judged because we're at home, women, you know, we're being judged because we want to work. I mean, there's so much. It's like, and with the possibility of our first woman president, oh my gosh, I'm so ready to shift gears. So Leslie, let's take it away. What in the heck, is this the year for women? And you know what, I'm going to backtrack a little bit, because we would say, well, last year was for women too. But I really feel a lot of energy coming out of women since the start of 2015. Even looking at my own daughter, you know, she's raring to go. She is the face of what I am seeing young women, you know, take charge and change their lives. What do you say about that? What do you see for 2015, the outcome for us women?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. I noticed the energy too, Donna, and thank you all for having me on the show. I think that there is a runway to actually get here. And so if you've watched over the last year or two, this has all been building. It's almost like women's lib again. Right, it's like, 40 years later, we have a new influx of women's liberation, and it's incumbent upon us to be the role models, as you are for your daughter, so that we can maintain integrity and sit at the table with men to affect the top and bottom line in business, because we bring a unique set of skills to the table that haven't been there before. Does that answer you?
Yes, we do.
And what are the skills? What are the skills? I mean, somebody on our Facebook page, a guy I went to college with, listed some of the skills that he thought women had, and collaboration was one of them. Just off the top of my head, that's what I remember. But we could probably all list skills women have that we don't think men have, but really does that help us or hinder us in a man's world?
Okay, so just briefly, you know, it's important to look at how we got here. Okay, how we actually got here. And over the last 5,000 years since we've been recording history, who has written all the books? Who has run businesses out in the marketplace, women or men? Men have. Men have written all the books. They're the ones who have evolved as current context for what we know as business success. It's not right or wrong, good or bad. It's what we have right now. And business success has very specific characteristics which are male. So for 5,000 years, women have been developing different skills, i.e. nurturing, collaboration, leadership. So, but the nature of these skills clash in business, no different than if men were all to come home and manage the household. There would be a learning curve, and that's where we are right now. We're in a learning curve. We're diminishing the wage gap. But ladies, I'll tell you, statistically, it looks like mid-century before women will earn the same as men. So that's my purpose. My purpose is to trim 20, 30 years off by training women, to train women in these skills, which are not that hard. But we're not confident in business as men are. We're confident at home. So there is a learning curve. That's the work that I do, is teaching women the skills that are effective in today's context for success.
So we have a variety of ages here. So we have 50s, 60s, and 20s. Let's talk about that 20-year-old. So she's had a working mom, well, not all her life, but a majority of her life. Her mom has worked doing something, right? You have a grandmother who works, right? She's always working. Still works at 75
and that's her choice, by the way. She likes to work. She doesn't have to, but she likes to.
Right, and you have an aunt who works and stuff like that. So you've kind of grown up with all these women working, and they're in business, right? Whereas my mom never worked, right? Leslie, did your mom ever work?
Well, let's see. I grew up in the 50s and the 60s. Yes, my mother went to work when I was in high school, but she went to work not because we needed the money. She went to work for pin money or mad money. So she did work, and what happened was somewhere in the 60s and early 70s, she went to a full-time, and she and other moms went to full-time jobs, and then the two salaries were required, and we began shopping based on the two salaries, and then, oh, by the way, then divorce ramped up like crazy, and then the economy dropped, so you had one-parent families in homes losing homes because their $100,000 a year would not cover both payments. So yes, my mother worked, but now it's a completely different story. Single women with children are the largest segment of poverty in our country.
And that's why I want to add, and I want to interrupt you because I want to say that because that is why I'm very proud of my mom, because she was a statistic in the 50s. I was born in 59, and so my mom, she worked. And she didn't work because she didn't have to. She worked because my father left.
Exactly.
And so she worked, and she did everything, that she could. I mean, she worked 3 jobs. To make sure that, we had what we needed. And just like you said today, even today they said on the news in Louisiana that a single mom with 3 children would have to at least make $63,000 to just hit above the poverty line. And I'm thinking back to my mom holding 3 jobs, and I know she probably didn't make, near that.
Right.
And we never thought of ourselves as poor, as we're now. They have a cap on it, where this is where you're poor. You know what I mean? You're poor now. And it kind of diminishes women, single women, doing exactly what you're saying. They won't go out there and work because work for what? They already have a cap on where they're at, so why not just stay home and collect a government check? And
they're getting checks and food stamps.
They're going around the system. We need to change that and get back those old work habits.
Yes, I remember I worked in Hayward, California when I was a teenager, and I worked in a health club, and I worked with a woman, a Hispanic woman with two small children, and she was a technician. I guess she was making somewhere around minimum wage, and she said to me, Leslie, frankly, she said, I love working. She said, but it really makes more sense for me not to work because I earn more getting what the government gives me than I do coming here 40 hours a week. But that was 40 years ago.
Right.
So things are changing, that we've had a shift. So now we have initial divorce rates at half, second and third marriages over 75%. So, it would be ideal. There are some women out there that are married with husbands that make enough money and they don't have to work.
Right.
They still want to, but they don't have to. And here's what I say to those women. I would love to be back in the time when all I did was manage my household and that the husband paid and I got to do those things in nurturing. But that's just not the way it is now. So for those few women that have the luxury of a two-person income and family, and the husband is making, or one partner or one person is making enough to support, I say do something passionate to the woman, part-time, do something that you really love, but really focus on your family. The family has suffered terribly in the last 40 or 50 years since I was little. When I was a little girl, no one got divorced.
I know.
It was in the 50s. Nobody got divorced. That being, people worked it out. Now it turned into, well, divorce is so easy and prevalent, let's do it. But the problem is it's actually very hard still to go through a divorce. But just because everyone's doing it, we think it's okay to do. Mm-hmm. The real thing to do is to keep your commitment if you can, if both people will. And that's what this country is missing. We don't have families, very many, the way we used to. And part of the problem between men and women are the male role models have completely disappeared for men. So let me tell you, here's why the divorce rate, this is not in my book. My book is more about women, but I will tell you this is my theory about what actually happened. We women woke up after 25 or 30 years of being married. We woke up next to an adolescent. A male who had never grown into adult male maturity because they didn't have the role models. We wake up and we lost our, we wake up. And what happens is we're married to this adolescent. All he wants to do is go out and screw, right? He's worried. He's in midlife. And because he never matured, he'd been hiding behind this semblance of male maturity. But when push came to shove and he hit midlife, all he wanted to do is what a teenage boy does. He wants to go out and have sex.
And you talked about in your introduction, and that's one of the things you said. You said the American dream. You were married, 30 years, and then one day it just, how do you recover from that? I mean, I'm looking at you, so I see how you recovered.
I lived.
But tell us, what was one of the first things? I know that what my mom said when she realized my dad left. One of the first things was, I do have to get up in the morning. Contrary to popular belief, I have to get up. I have to do breakfast. I have to move on. What did you do?
Well, my kids were gone, so I didn't. So what happened for me is after 30 years, all of a sudden, $750,000 in retirement and, 2 cats in the yard. Life used to be so hard, and everything was easy. It was the perfect marriage. It really was. And, of course, unbeknownst to me, and here's another thing. I hear people saying, well, you really have to work on it. Both people have to want to work on it. So as long as both people have issues and they want to work on it, it's great. But so many of women and men, I'm sure, it's one-sided. So what happened to me was I walked away from the marriage. It doesn't matter what happened. It really doesn't matter what happened because we all have our story. Let's just say that I walked away from 30 years with $4,000 and nothing else. And a couple of years, I actually sat in the dark for 2 years. I didn't have children to take care of. So I had one grand pity party. Right? I mean, I went to work during the day and came home and cried and sat in the dark. And one day, about 2 years later, I finally started to pick myself up. I finally got disgusted with myself. I pity partied until nobody wanted to be friends with me anymore, right? You know, they were sick of hearing about how bad the ex-husband was. And so life was getting good again. I pulled myself up, and then one day I came home and opened the mail, and very casually, and there was a note from the IRS saying, "Hello, Mrs. Flowers, you owe us $80,000, and here's your payment book, $5,000 a month." Well, I was making $2,500 a month, so I was faced with three choices. One was to throw in the towel and go live on the street after 30 years and this idyllic life and working all this year. Two was to go to jail. They would take care of me there because there was no way that I could pay $5,000. I just didn't have it. Or three, I considered driving off a bridge. I truly considered killing myself. One day, the dark shroud started opening just a little. A little light came in, you know, just a little bit. And I knew this wasn't my debt. I had $500 in an Edward Jones account. A lot of money, a big 500, right? So I went to see my Edward Jones guy. Here's the key. It seems like a natural thing to do, but this was the fourth choice. He said, "Oh, Leslie, you need an attorney who's also a CPA." Who knew there was such a thing, right? I didn't know. He was an expert. And I have a referral, and I went to this fellow. This fellow, in 1 year, and $5,000 of my money, reduced the $80,000 to $50,000. And he said, "This is really great, Mrs. Flowers. That leaves 30, 15 for you, 15 for him." And I got quiet. Well, if you know me, I'm rarely quiet. He said, "Did you want to appeal?" "Yes, please." 6 months later, and $1,800 more, the entire $80,000 was removed. The IRS, unheard of when the government comes after you. So life is good again. I'm going back to work, and then another day I get another letter, and this is from the state of North Carolina saying, "Mrs. Flowers, you owe us $20,000. So I called them, and when they found out what the IRS had done, there was a thing called innocent spouse. Who knew about this? What I learned later was what I did was I sought expert advice. That was choice number 4. And ultimately, the whole $100,000 was removed, and I bought my first home on my own, my dream home, for $100,000 less than the market because it was in 2009, and that's how it was. So it was either the streets, prison, drive off a bridge, or seek expert advice. That's how.
I like that.
And that is one of the secrets to being a successful businesswoman. We're going to get back to that. So you and I and Donna didn't really know that secret. We weren't taught that secret, right?
No, women were not.
Women were not taught that secret because we're collaborators and nurturers, so that's good in business. So, you know, we come in our earrings and our high heels and cross our legs in business meetings, and we think that's all right, but you say that's not. But somebody Ariel's age really has a leg up and not crossed over her other one daintily in the business meeting. She really has a leg up to break through the glass ceiling that's out there to equalize that wage gap, right? Because of the things that you're talking about in your book.
Yeah, what happens is when women enter the workforce with the bracelets and the lipstick and the wiggling and the jiggling and the "I believe" and "I'm sorry" and crying and all of that, what happens is...
That's what they get.
Well, business leaders actually automatically stop listening, and this is very dangerous. Men and women, if you have too many attributes that don't match the current context for success, their listening of you shuts off. How many times have you been in a meeting where you said something and nothing was said, and a few people later, a man said the same thing and everybody goes, oh yeah, let's do that, and you're saying, didn't I just say exactly the same thing? You're not listening. So one of the things I do is, and one of the things that Ariel can learn very quickly is, for example, women tell the whole story. Oh my God, we have to tell it right down to how dirty the diaper was that day and exactly what the baby had eaten to cause the. You just can't go on unless you understand the diaper, right? Well, that you don't need
That's
that.
a mom day.
That's full of something.
Right. Men don't do that. Men speak in bullet points. So one of the things, there's about 12 superficial, if you will, behavioral characteristics for women, young, middle-aged, whatever age, to practice. Some of them you already have. The more of these skills that you manage, that is, you don't wear a shirt cut down to, right? Right. And you don't put on lipstick in meetings, and you don't wear a lot of jewelry, and you don't cry, and you don't say I'm sorry.
You do not cry.
No crying. No crying in
No
business.
crying in the workplace.
And if you're chastised, if a woman is chastised for doing something and, oh, I'm so sorry, I'll never let it happen again, blah, 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 which is normal for the home because you're nurturing. You've got to tell the story at home. You're the peacemaker. You're the collaborator.
Sensitive. Yeah.
You are. You're the one. But in business, it's cut and dry. It's, you know, it's declarative. It's simple, right? It's, you know, plan what you're saying. If you watch men, they stand quite still when they talk.
That's
with
right.
their arms by their side, and we're crossing our legs and wiggling and hand on hips and hair and glasses, and, you know, we're just totally all over the place. So that's the first way. That's not the deepest. There you go, Siobhan. Very good.
Siobhan knows.
Nobody will listen to us. So,
I'm sorry. I have to put my on. Sorry. Go on. Were you saying something important?
The crime is. Oh, what is that? Is that lipstick? Please put
That
some.
is.
Thank you. Lip gloss. Very nicely done. Excellent. Excellent. Good. Good.
Go.
Be sure to
You
do
got
that
it.
in meetings, right? You know, men shake hands, women hug.
I shake hands.
So, but that's
I
not
do.
that's not the problem. The reason women need to do this, not only they've got to be heard, because the top and
right.
bottom line of businesses are affected by these skills. But first we have to be heard. So we have to stop shaking and jiggling and crying and I believe and let's try this and what do you think about that? No. Men say, let's do it this way. Right? They stand up, they step up to the plate even if they're not qualified.
That's right.
Yeah,
Even
they
if
got a lot of balls to do that.
That is right.
Yeah,
That is absolutely right.
we don't, but we do have eggs. Okay, so
And we juggle them.
and we do.
juggle them. Wait,
juggle
a few
them.
are cracked. Some are cracked.
So
some are
Leslie, what you're saying too
hard-boiled.
is we have to make the shift as far as our attitude. We have to be more aggressive. Is that what's missing from us? Because we're such nurturers, or because when we're aggressive, we're called a bitch.
Exactly. And if you're a
Immediately,
man, and if
we're
it's
called
a
a bitch.
man, he's being straight to the point. Well,
Right.
it's not really aggressive, Donna. It's more confidence. Look, it's not our fault. We've only been in business for 30 years. Seriously, really, you know, raising families on our own. It really isn't our fault. The state of business success is what it is. There's no point in complaining about it. What there is for women to do, and that's what I've been working on in the last 5 years in the book I wrote, is how do you overcome it? How do you actually step into business and be heard? And the biggest problem is lack of business experience and success for women. So we are also not going to step up to the plate in business like we would at home because we don't have the confidence. So superficially, first we have to be listened to. And part of what I teach are what are these simple superficial sort of behaviors. For example, if you're a big storyteller, then before you go into a meeting, you jot down the points, right? If that's your area that you get too lengthy and you recognize. So it's a lot about being responsible and being doing a self-assessment, looking at yourself and saying, hey, am I one of these people? Do I wear too much jewelry? Just take the jewelry off, right? Whatever it is, and then you just practice it, and there's a little sequence, and pretty soon it becomes a habit. You don't think about it anymore. You start getting listened to, because here's the thing. Can't you imagine what would happen in business if women actually were listened to and sat down at the conference table?
Well, my thing is that I would like to not work for anybody. That way I can wear as much jewelry as I want to.
Correct.
At my workplace. I plan to run my business. I can wear as much makeup that I want.
Yeah.
Any dress that I want to wear. I will be able to do that. I will not need someone to tell me that I have to. I think in my day and age, maybe in your time, that may have been a problem. But for me now, I think that women do step out and make some get shown and looked at because of what their jewelry and what they wear and how they look. I don't think by what woman is wearing in her jewelry or her makeup wise makes her less
effective.
Aware of less effective of what she's doing.
No, I
workplace.
agree with you. It's not so much about what she thinks or you think. It's what your potential clients think.
So what do you think a potential client would think about a woman wearing a lot of jewelry?
Well, if you were going to a networking session and there were all kinds of people there.
And so I just want to know, what kind of clients would this be? Am I only, because in business, what if you were in a major clothing company and you were meeting with clients that looked at your jewelry and was like, wow, her jewelry may be a reflection of what her company is. I like that.
And I love your thinking.
Okay.
I love your thinking, and it's incumbent upon your mother and me to nurture that. The problem is
that's a good
to nurture that confidence that you have. See, we are the guardians, Ariel. The problem is Ariel. Okay, not everybody has a mother like Donna who nurtures that. Okay.
I don't nurtures what? I'm sorry, I don't understand nurture.
Nurtures your confidence, your ability to be self-expressed, your ability to walk your own walk and talk your own talk. That, however, could be tempered. Consider that if you're in an environment with a lot of people of which you're unaware of who they are, that it might be smart to tone it down a little bit to evaluate the landscape, right? So it's a compromise, it's not a compromise, it's actually a better solution because you are influencing the outcome by the way you're being and the way you're dressed. So yes, you can wear what you want, but you want to be very strategic with what you wear, you see, very strategic. So you do have to care about what potential clients say, but I love that your mother nurtures this self-expression in you. And I do, yes, you are self-expressed, you just say it like it is, but also consider that you can expand who you're being. You can adjust your jewelry on purpose. This is leveraging influence, so it comes out in your favor. This is what men do automatically without realizing it. When women learn how to do this, the actual wage gap will flip-flop. I predict in 2035, it's going to flip-flop, and women are going to start earning more than men because those skills that women have learned, they've learned on purpose, and the ones that men have, their habits, they're not even aware that they do these things. So women actually are going to be more empowered, in my view.
It's like successful men, if you take a look at the wristwatch, it's always a high, top of the line.
Yeah, like really nice.
Wristwatch. They might not wear a tie, but look at their wristwatch because they're trying to make a statement, and they do that unconsciously because they've been doing that for eons and
5,000
millions of
years.
We've been doing it for 30.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Right? Since every woman had an opportunity to go to work, and every woman, in a lot of cases, have to go to work. We're not talking about single moms back in the 50s and 60s, in the 70s. We're talking about women who we have to go to work now, so we have to be successful in business.
Yeah.
And we're afraid to be successful.
Well, you're going to ask me.
I'd be much happier being at home, being the nurturer. That's my thing.
Exactly. Would you like to know what the biggest nail in the coffin for success for women is?
What?
Kids.
No. You want to guess? The biggest nail in the coffin for women being successful today.
Husbands at home.
No, you're not. You're going to be surprised.
Confidence.
Okay.
I don't know.
Women's groups. Women's groups. They are a hotbed of bullies and nastiness, and how would you ever develop any business confidence when somebody's calling you names or a fat butt or you look horrible? Women collapse business and social together, men don't.
I'm going to say that. I'm going to jump in right here and say absolutely, because you know what? If you put a bunch of women together in the workplace, and I'm going to say it, and you know what? Jump all on me. I always get it anyway. You put them in a room together. Men gossip, but they do it on the slick. They know how to do it. We have got to learn. If we're going to talk, we better learn some codes. We better learn to not.
Guys are worse.
Yeah, we better learn how to, on the workplace, keep that out. If you want to gossip, do that at home, because you know what? We're known for that.
Well, you are onto something. You're onto something really big here, because here's what happens. Men have their quasi-mastermind, their JCs, their military, of course. Okay, and they bounce ideas off it. Then they go to the beer hall and they pat each other on the ass and on the belly and say, "Fatso," right? But here's the thing. Women do not distinguish social and business, and they just never had to. So what happens is you get in these women's groups and you invest your money, your time, you like the women, you have your one-on-ones, maybe you'll have an occasional referral, and then someone says something really nasty about you and you say, well, I'm out of here, this isn't the group for me, right? So any momentum you've gotten in business goes like this. Okay, no Viagra here. And then you're looking for another women's group. Oh, there's one. It looks like, smells like, etc. You invest your money, you invest your time, you have your one-on-ones. Maybe you have a referral. Maybe you get a client, and someone says something really nasty about someone else. And you leave. You've lost time, money, and momentum. Boom. Now, the work that I do has women just be aware of this. And what happens is, when you're aware, in my masterminds, as an example, we don't do any of that. It's unacceptable. We've trained ourselves to only look for the greatness in others, only look for what is needed to be successful. When that becomes a habit, now we have social things and we joke around too, but women don't distinguish between social and business. And I'll give you an example. One of the most famous masterminds in history was that of Jesus Christ and his disciples. Now, ladies, tell me what happened with one bad apple in that mastermind.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you got bad apples in every women's group. However, they're not bad people. They simply don't know. They don't know another way yet.
That's what I was going to say. They just don't know.
That's right.
Look at what we look at on television. Look at what the top shows are. They're women chewing each other out, pulling each other's hair out, backstabbing, all the television shows that portray women. Look at the women. So what we're seeing is that. So what are we going to do in the workplace? We're going to act like that. We're going to mimic that. So we have got to shift. And we just shift. It has to be. That's why I said 2015 should be the year that we are, as women, aware of these things. And turn off that channel that's showing that.
for your
turn off those
children,
groups.
because while you're at work, your kids, your boys are are playing these video games that are very caustic, and they treat women poorly, and there's a lot of trouble that goes on with a single parent because they're out working, they get home, they're tired. There has to be a shift, and I believe it's incumbent upon us to nurture Ariel. Did I say that right,
Yes,
Ariel?
ma'am.
To nurture that feistiness that we had to shut down. You now can express it, but you want to be really smart about it. So just because you can look any way you want to be strategic, and you want to influence people around you to your way of thinking. And so if it's an environment of all suits, you wear a suit. And if it's an environment of a bunch of creatives, you wear whatever it is. Only you can control your own outcome. What you think and what you do actually will influence others. And that's what this book is all about. It's really the New Testament for the 21st century woman in business.
So you guys can grab it on Amazon. It's Leslie Flowers' new book, Champion, the 21st Century Woman, Guardians of Wealth and Legacy. And we lost Ariel.
We did.
She's gone. She's completely gone. But I do know it is time to put it in parks. So thank you very much, Leslie Flowers, for joining us. That was great.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Her phone died, so hold on.
Her phone died.
There she is. Come on.
Come on.
There she is.
Hi.
There she
so it's time
is.
to put it in park, ladies.
Okay, so I'm going to put it in park.
Ariel,
Leslie.
last minute.
It was so great talking to you. I can't wait to finish reading your book. And it's very interesting, your outlook on the workplace now for 2015. So
thank you.
It was nice talking to you.
Lovely. My pleasure being with all you ladies and all your listeners.
Awesome. So as we put it in park, thank you all.
Her hair, Siobhan, always.
Thank you all for tuning in. That's why I was in my own box, Thank you all. Thank you, Leslie, so much. The outlook for women is always great, but 2015, let's just push it. Let's push the envelope. Forget the ceiling. We've already broke through that. Let's push the envelope now. And let's do that. Let's keep doing it, and then grab somebody else along with you and help them push too. Take that toe chain challenge and push too. Siobhan, lovely as always. I'll see you later on the intraweb. Leslie, I'm glad we connected on Facebook. Let's stay in touch.
Yes, please.
Let's do this. On behalf of everyone at the Attitude Shift, keep shifting. I don't know what we'll be doing next week, but we'll be doing it right back here, 9 p.m. Central Time on the Attitude Shift. I can't get my hand around here. Peace out. Love you.